Adi, I saw this old painting of Chinese men with these long braids and shaved foreheads. What's the story behind that hairstyle? It looks so intense.
Oh, you mean the queue? That's actually a wild story. Imagine being told you have to shave the front of your head and braid the rest, or else you could literally lose your head. That's what happened when the Manchu Qing dynasty took over China in the 1600s. The queue wasn't just a fashion statement, it was a tool of control, and it sparked massive resistance. And honestly, the way people reacted back then, it still echoes in debates about identity and power today.
Wait, so people were forced to change their hair or be killed? That sounds brutal.
And absolutely. When the Manchus conquered Beijing in 1644, they were a tiny minority, less than a million, ruling over more than 100 million Han Chinese. So, to make everyone one family, the regent Dorgan ordered all men to adopt the Manchu queue, shaved crown, long braid. The message was clear: queue or lose your head, and it was enforced with terrifying violence.
That must have felt like a huge insult. Wasn't hair a big deal in Chinese culture?
Huge. For Han Chinese men, a full head of hair often tied in a bun symbolized masculinity and dignity. Shaving your head was for monks, criminals, or slaves. So, being forced to wear the queue was both humiliating and a constant reminder of conquest.
Did people fight back?
Oh, big time, especially in the south, where resistance was fierce. Some rebel leaders refused the queue entirely. One of the most famous was Jing Qinggong, also known as Koxinga. He was part pirate, part scholar, and he led a rebellion that actually drove the Dutch out of Taiwan in 1661.
Wait, the Dutch were in Taiwan back then?
They'd been there for almost 40 years, running a colony. Koxinga and his followers, with help from Taiwan's indigenous people, kicked them out and set up their own base. After he died, his followers stayed, and a couple decades later, the Qing finally took control of Taiwan. But that legacy, it's still part of Taiwanese identity debates today.
That's wild. So the queue was more than just a hairstyle. It was about power and identity.
Exactly. And it wasn't just the hair. The Qing forced people to wear Manchu-style robes, too practical for horseback riding, but also a daily reminder of who was in charge. The Manchus even tried to keep Han and Manchu people separate in Beijing, giving the best spots to their own bannermen and pushing Han Chinese to the outskirts.
Did the Qing ever try to win people over? Or was it all force?
They realized pretty quickly they needed Han Chinese cooperation to actually govern. So, especially under the Kangxi Emperor, who took the throne as a kid in 1662, they started to blend force with charm. Kangxi was smart. He studied Confucian classics, fixed up the rivers and canals, and kept the civil service exams going to attract talented Han officials.
So he was trying to look like a real Chinese emperor?
Exactly. He even commissioned a history of the Ming Dynasty, the guys the Manchus had overthrown, and put on operas mourning the Ming's fall. Some Han officials were literally crying in the audience, but Kangxi let it happen. It was a way to show respect for Chinese tradition, even while keeping Manchu power on top.
That's a complicated balancing act. Did it work?
For a while, yeah. Kangxi ruled for 60 years and earned respect from both Manchu and Han elites. He was curious, too. He invited Jesuit missionaries to court, learned about Western science, even played European instruments. But he never let go of the core Manchu controls, like the queue and the bannerman system.
It sounds like the Qing were always worried about being outsiders.
Totally. They never fully trusted the Han majority. They reserved half the top government jobs for Manchus, and only Han who'd supported them early got full privileges. It was always this mix of fear, control, and trying to win hearts and minds.
This reminds me of debates today about cultural assimilation and forced identity. Like when governments try to make everyone fit one mold.
Exactly. The queue order is a classic example of enforced identity, using appearance to demand loyalty. You see echoes of that today, whether it's dress codes, language laws, or even debates over national symbols. It's about who gets to define us and them.
And the resistance to people pushing back when they feel their identity is under attack.
That's why the queue sparked such outrage. It wasn't just about hair. It was about dignity, autonomy, and who gets to decide what it means to belong. And honestly, those questions haven't gone away.
So, what happened after Kangxi? Did things get easier for the Han?
Not really. The tension never fully went away. Later rebellions, like the Taiping Rebellion, were fueled by resentment over Manchu rule and these early policies. And even after the Qing fell in the early 1900s, cutting off the queue became a symbol of revolution and modernity.
So, changing your hair was like declaring independence?
Pretty much. When the Qing collapsed, people rushed to cut off their queues. It was a way to say, we're done with foreign rule. That's why, even today, debates over symbols, hair, clothes, language can get so heated. They're never just about style.
It's kind of amazing how something as simple as a haircut could mean so much. And how those battles over identity and power are still happening now.
Absolutely. The Q story shows how rulers try to shape identity from the top down and how people resist from the bottom up. Whether it's hair in Qing China or debates over cultural symbols today, it's always about who gets to define who we are.
So, next time I see an old photo with that braid, I remember it's not just a weird fashion, it's a symbol of a whole struggle over belonging and power.
Exactly. History doesn't repeat, but it sure rhymes. The fights over identity and control from Qing China. They help us see why those same questions matter so much today.
That's it for today's episode on Fun Learn Talks, where stories from business, technology, and history keep your curiosity alive. If you enjoyed the journey, make sure to follow, rate, or share it with a fellow curious mind. And hey, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment or connect with us online. I'm Anu, and I'll catch you next time, right here on Fun Learn Talks. Until then, keep learning, keep wondering.